Well, the title is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. Now, those words don't mean anything. That's a long title until you look into the book. And then the book itself, in its initial phases, will describe what those words mean. But just briefly, the words basically mean that people who are doing something, if people are interacting, one person interacting with another, they should be united in what they're doing. Now, that's not united with each other. It's united in what they are trying to do. In other words, they are on the same page, to use a cliche. So people should be. If they're going to cross a river, and it takes the unity of 3 or 4 people to get the canoe across the river, you have to have 3 people as a crew on this particular canoe. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to manage it very well. So they should at least have the unity that they will be in unison when they get in the canoe, and one person is not thinking about doing something else, going in another direction, or going in a direction where the other 2 don't agree with. They have to at least have an agreement that they are going across the river, directly across the river. So that's the unity part. But each person should be independent, united independent. That's what that means. Independent in what he or she is going to contribute to getting in the canoe and going across the other side of the river. And the word compensatory. You got the united, independent, compensatory. That's the 4th word. 3rd word, compensatory, meaning what? They are trying to get across the river. Why? Because they're not across the river. They're on this side of the river. So they're going to compensate for not being on the other side of the river by going to the other side of the river. That's all compensatory means. You are not where you need to be. So you're going to compensate to get where you need to be by going where you need to be. And then you have a code for doing that. The code is the oars, the tools that you're going to use, and the boat itself to get across the river. These are the ingredients. You have a code, and then you have a system for getting there, how you're going to use those tools to get there. The boat, the oars, the method for getting there. Who's going to row on one side, who's going to row on the other side, who's going to be at the front of the boat, who's going to be in the middle, who's going to be near the rear of the boat to kind of do some steering and whatnot. And that last part is a code system concept. Now, they had a concept for getting across the river. Now, that might be a kind of a raggedy way of me putting it, but I'm putting it that way to give that illustration about a boat going across a river, to say this is true of any goal that people set. And the biggest goal that people should set among themselves, among the people of this entire planet, is to solve the largest problem on the planet. And the assumption, according to what I have written in the code book, is the largest problem is the system of racism, which means mistreating people, dominating and mistreating people based on color. That's all racism is. And it takes the form of this thing that we call white supremacy. And so that's what that United Independent Compensatory Code System concept is supposed to combat. It's supposed to eliminate that system and replace it with something better. Something better, presumably being a system of justice. And I call it a compensatory code because we don't have a code for doing that. We don't have a way of getting from point A to point B. We don't have a way of solving that problem. That is a problem. We haven't set up one. There's no orchestrated way, that, as far as I know, of doing that. So I'm trying to introduce a systematic way where an individual person can contribute to bringing this about. Each individual person, because it finally comes down to individuals, united with the idea, the concept that you have to get rid of that system. And so you can get the textbook for doing this, at least from my viewpoint, Neely Fuller Jr., you can get the textbook for doing this, for bringing this about, by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And it outlines suggestions for getting this job done.